exciting presentation tonight, and I hesitate to use the words life-changing, but really you'll see some things are in motion here that will change our lives individually and our lives from the point of view of homeowner associations. We're extremely fortunate to have Dan Nordberg here with us. Dan has represented community associations in boardrooms as corporate counsel, in the courtroom, and trial and appellate level. He successfully represented clients before the California Supreme Court, federal and California courts of appeal, as well as trial court level. He earned his, he's right from here, used to live in Lake 2, but we won't hold that against him. He earned his bachelor's degree from UCI and his JD, that's a doctorate in law, from Pepperdine University School of Law. He's got so many distinctions that I'd spend the whole night if I went through all of the things he's done. Let me just highlight a few. He's a former president of the Southern Counties chapter of the CAI. He was one of the very first CAM faculty members. He currently serves as president of the Alliance for Successful Communities, California Institute for the Improvement of Master Plan Communities, and the High Rise Living Council. And he's chairman of the prestigious Community Interest Development Lawyers Association. I'm really looking forward to this presentation. I've seen it twice before, and I'm going to stay for the third time tonight. So thank you very much, and without further ado, Dan Nordberg.
Thank you, Jim. Well, it's my pleasure to be here tonight, and I hope what I have to tell you will stay with you, because this is very important information. Not many homeowner association volunteers such as yourselves take the time to learn this kind of information. But the fact that you're here tonight distinguishes you, and it also burdens you, because I guarantee when you leave tonight, you will view the world differently. Now, what I'm showing you on the screen right now is eggs. And you notice one's cracked. After you leave tonight, you're going to be a little cracked too. So let's begin. My name, of course, is Dan Nordberg. I'm presenting tonight on behalf of a group that I created called the Alliance for Successful Communities. I'd like to introduce my assistant, Katie Kelly. Katie is our executive director for our organization and does a lot of the legwork and makes me look good. So thank you, Katie, for coming. I'm also here tonight on behalf of the AB32 CID Advisory Council. Now, AB32 stands for Assembly Bill 32. The CID stands for Common Interest Development. The Advisory Council is exactly that. Statewide, we have accumulated the best minds representing homeowners associations. Representatives from PCM are indeed very much involved, as are most of the major management companies and attorneys who have committed and dedicated their professional careers to the success of homeowners associations. I'm also here tonight for the Playground Pool Equipment Safety Task Force. Now, we're not going to spend a lot of time on playground equipment, but I did tonight give you a handout, a fact sheet, in the materials that you have, which highlights some of the information you need to have on the new law as it affects playground equipment. Among other things, it is now the law that the Americans for Disabilities Act applies to your playground equipment. And that is a very significant change. It is also a significant burden and obligation. I encourage you to seek counsel and make sure that your equipment is compliant. So with that, let's begin. Most of you saw this movie. I'm not going to replay it tonight, but we are in dangerous waters. I don't want to think that we're sinking as the Titanic did, but we have to be very careful about our progress and what we are up to. Some of you may have seen this movie, A Perfect Storm. You'll recall that the boat was overwhelmed by the tidal wave, or the large wave that engulfed them. Maybe you'll remember these characters. Well, what we're going to do tonight is talk about the perfect storm and hopefully put you in the lifeboat on the Titanic. We're going to be talking about climate change and the effect it has on your community associations. How serious is this? The top picture is Lake Oroville 3 years ago, June 2005, 4 years ago. The same lake, the bottom picture, November 2008. This picture was taken March of 2009. This is a chart which all of the policymakers in Sacramento, those are the representatives who are voting on the bills affecting your community associations, received. This chart identifies with a little red arrow, you're not going to be able to pick it up perfectly, but the little red arrow is the level of lowest tolerance for the reservoir. Better than 3/4 of the reservoirs and lakes in California that supply drinking water are well below that tolerance level. I attended a presentation last week at the Scripps Institute of Oceanography. The presentation was by members of California's Climate Action Team. Now, the Climate Action Team are assembled experts that the legislators and the governor have put together in order to predict and create scenarios on the consequences of global warming in California. This chart reflects that information. The chart on your left with a purple is an indication of the vulnerable population due to sea rise, and the largest circle is in groups of hundreds of thousands. The one on your right represents vulnerable roadways in miles. Now, what these scientists have done is they've overlain the infrastructure in California with the projected sea level rise caused by global warming in a scenario that is moderate. And this is what they have found. The one on the left depicts power plants. You're not going to be able to see it carefully, but you just need to get a flavor that most of the power plants in California are exposed and are vulnerable to sea level rise. The one on your right is the vulnerable railroads. The one on your left is coastal wetland area that will be inundated by global warming consequences. And the one on your right is the wastewater treatment infrastructure that will be impacted by sea level water rises. This is a dramatic chart because it shows the impact on residences and residential buildings. The little green dots show in billions of dollars the impact on residential construction and construction. Now, by and large, 71% of all damage to buildings caused by sea level rise, the scientists have reported, will be to residential structures. You may have seen this chart before. Assuming no action is taken, the slide on your right represents, slide on your left represents the consequences. The slide on your left represents the consequences if they are mitigated. Importantly, the Scripps Institute of Oceanography and the Climate Action Team report these scenarios do not include any influence of ice sheet melting on land. For instance, Greenland and Antarctica. In response to this information, the legislature passed in 2006 Assembly Bill 32. It doesn't matter if you and I agree to the science behind the information